How do you know if anything you taught or are teaching is sticking? That's the million-dollar question we're going to unpack today. In order to ensure you don't lead lesson after lesson only to be surprised at testing time to learn your scholars didn't retain anything, we're going to learn how to use the right assessment to understand if our scholars are learning what we're teaching. But first, we need to start by understanding that there are two types of assessments. There are summative assessments and formative assessments. A summative assessment is an assessment technique used to measure scholar learning, skill acquisition, and academic achievement at the conclusion of an instructional period. This type of assessment aims to provide a comprehensive overview of what scholars have learned and how well they've mastered the material. Summative assessments are typically high stakes and contribute significantly to a scholar's final grade or evaluation. They're usually formal and structured in nature. When we think of a summative assessment, we should be thinking of unit tests, final exams, research papers, projects, presentations, and standardized tests. They're usually administered at the end of a unit or course of study. While summative assessments are important in providing a valuable snapshot of scholar learning at a specific point in time, they tend to be so comprehensive in nature that they're spread far apart, making it hard to intervene and know when a scholar might be struggling when you're teaching day to day. A formative assessment, on the other hand, which is also known as a check for understanding or a CFU, is an assessment technique that educators use at various points during the lesson to gauge scholars' comprehension of the material and to identify any gaps in understanding in order to adjust instruction and pacing. CFUs provide real-time feedback for educators on whether the material they're teaching is sticking. If it is, then educators can proceed to build on that material with confidence. If it's not, educators can pivot in real time and provide more explicit instruction or guided practice before moving on. Here are 4 key points about CFUs. First, they're frequent and informal. CFUs should be posed throughout the lesson and they shouldn't be high stakes or graded. Second, there are a variety of ways to check for understanding. Let me run through a few that you can use during instruction. Questioning, asking scholars specific questions about the lesson to assess their understanding. Quizzes, short, informal quizzes that provide immediate insight into scholar comprehension. Exit tickets, which are brief written responses to a prompt, a few multiple choice questions, or some combination given at the end of a lesson, and typically don't take more than 5 minutes to complete. Think, pair, share, a collaborative learning strategy where scholars first think about a question, then discuss it with a partner, and finally share their ideas with the larger group. Asking scholars thumbs up, thumbs down to provide a quick visual signal where scholars indicate their understanding or lack thereof. If educators are virtual or have access to technology, they can quickly put together an instant poll. These are just a few examples of some CFUs. The important part to remember is that CFUs are typically brief, informal, and non-graded. Back to our key points on CFUs. Third, they inform instruction. Based on scholar responses, educators can adapt their teaching in real time. If a significant portion of the class seems confused, the educator can reteach the material or provide additional examples. And fourth, CFUs benefit scholars become more aware of their own learning. By receiving feedback throughout the lesson, educators can identify areas where scholars need more clarification. The goal of a CFU is to ensure that scholars are following along with the lesson and to identify any misconceptions or areas that need further clarification. This ongoing assessment helps tailor instruction to meet the needs of all scholars. Imagine you're teaching a science lesson on evaporation. During the lesson, you use a class discussion around what scholars just learned as a CFU. The discussion involves you asking questions to check scholars' understanding of the processes involved in evaporation. By listening to scholars' explanations and observing their responses, you can quickly identify misconceptions, clarify concepts on the spot, ensuring that all scholars grasp the material before moving forward. By integrating formative assessments, educators empower themselves to adapt teaching strategies in real time, addressing scholar needs promptly and effectively.